Hi, it's Larry here of Xbox Live's Major Nelson. Hello, Twitch. You are in for a treat. The next 30 minutes, we're going to show you some of the Battlefield 1 single player. Now, I'm here with Eric Holmes, who's the single player designer. Eric, I'm really excited. You brought some great stuff to show. This is stuff that has never before been seen, right?
That's right. We'll show it the first time here at Twitch.
So, Twitch folks, you are in for an incredible, incredible treat for the next 30 minutes. But first, we're going to get started to remind you about the single-player campaign trailer that you guys released earlier this week. Go ahead, take a look.
They push, we push. Every once in a while, we push hard enough that the light breaks through the clouds and a world beyond the war glimmers. Behind every gun sight is a human being. We are those people.
Promise me that you'll get me back in one piece.
Okay, I promise.
Come on!
You may find you're out there all alone. You know that.
You can never stop the progress of machines!
If history only remembers 1 in 1,000 of us, then that future will be filled with stories of who we were and what we did. But until that day comes, we will stand. We will look death in the eye, and we will fight.
Get the new Xbox One S.
That was the Battlefield 1 single-player trailer that revealed earlier this week. I'm here with Eric Holmes on stage at TwitchCon here. Eric, you are the single-player designer, part of the team at DICE that works on the single-player. Let's talk about that and what you're bringing to the single-player for Battlefield.
I think the biggest thing that you're seeing there, I'll talk about it in the context of the trailer.
Yeah.
Because it's our single reference point here. We have an entirely new format in this game, and I'll go back to the decision-making for that. With Battlefield 1, it was very important for us to do something that really respected the Great War, something that respected the enormity of it, the scale of it, the events of it, and we also wanted to see a great deal of the variety that's in that war, and that meant going to different parts, different fronts, seeing different events. And if we look at the traditional format of a campaign, often you'll play one character who hops around the globe and is the best at everything. He's the best sniper, he's the best pilot, he's the best driver, he's a martial artist, he's got everything.
He's the best at everything in the world.
Right. and we didn't really feel that was appropriate for what we were doing here. And we were scratching our heads wondering, what can we do to do something that respects this conflict, this enormous event in civilization's history, but also gives us these different perspectives. And we came up with an anthology format. That was our fresh take, is an anthology format. So we have 5 war stories, which give us the views from different protagonists with local problems in their different areas around the globe, but also with a very personal connection to the dramatic events that take place in their war stories. So I think that gives us a lot of variety, but it also gave us a really emotional attachment to those characters and the ability to explore each of them in a very unique way that's appropriate for who they are and where they come from.
You talked about using these different protagonists. So tell us how the single player is structured. Let's double click on that a little bit, if you will.
Okay, right. So there's the 5 war stories.
Sure.
For example, the first one is Friends in High Places. This is a aviation-oriented episode. There's our 2 lead characters. The player character is called Clyde Blackburn, and he's a somewhat roguish American volunteer who's joined the Royal Flying Corps. And our story picks up just when a new plane has been deployed to the front, a game-changing aircraft, the Bristol F-2. And this is a very deadly time in the history.
Now, why was it game-changing?
It was fast.
Okay.
It was powerful. It was durable. the technology was changing all the way through this war.
Right.
So it seemed like every month someone was rolling up something new, some new weapon, some new device, some new vehicle,
Yeah.
and it was going to be the one that was going to break the stalemate. It was going to be the one that was going to end it.
Right.
But inevitably something else rolled up a month later and changed that again. So in this case, the Bristol F2 is really it's the vehicle that we use both literally and metaphorically in this episode. It's a game-changing aircraft, and we have this kind of Knights of the Skies story over the Western Front where we have these two characters thrown together by a lie, and they have to test the limits of their friendship over the Western Front.
Now, you mentioned something about the different stories. There's 5 different stories. Do I have to go through them as in the single-player game? Do I have to kind of go through them in the order that you, as the single-player designer, have decided, or can I kind of decide what I want to do?
So we wanted this fresh take, this anthology format, and that allowed us to open up more of a sense of player agency and choice. So you can play any of these war stories in any order that you like. You can replay them on different difficulty levels. You can jump out of one if you find it's maybe a little bit ahead of you and go back and tackle another one. Player choice, player agency has been very important for us with Battlefield 1, and that starts right before we even get into the actual content. It starts right there at the start menu.
It also allows you, with this type of narrative approach, to experiment and explore the different, not only the different characters involved, but also, let's talk about the vehicles and the landscapes. Those are also characters in the single player, aren't they?
Right. So we have these 5 war stories, and each one of those has a different mechanical theme to it. So I mentioned Friends in High Places. That's an episode about this aircraft and the crew of it. There's another episode about a tank crew. There's another episode about 2 Italian mountaineers. There's another, each one of them has a different focus. It could be infantry, it could be a vehicle, it could be a set of mechanics, it could be one of the archetype characters in the Battlefield multiplayer set. So each one of them is kind of intensely flavorful with a gameplay concept and with a narrative conceit to it in a different region of the world.
You brought something with you this time. You brought a little bit of a view of what we can expect from one of those narratives, haven't you?
Right. So this episode is called Through Mud and Blood.
Okay.
And this focuses on a young English volunteer called Danny Edwards, and he's just joined the British Army. And because he was a chauffeur before the war, he's been selected to be a driver in the tank corps.
Well, that makes sense. But driving a Rolls Royce is very different from driving a tank, isn't it?
Right. So he's got a lot of growth to do, just like the player does the first time they're put behind the controls of the tank. But what he also has is he has personal stakes in the drama of this too, because he has to earn a place amongst this tank's crew as they're given this mission. They have to break through the front line. They have to destroy German artillery as they're going through there, and they have to punch through to a rendezvous with hundreds of other tanks that are trying to break through the front line at the same time. The events we based this on, there was over 300 tanks breaking through the front line in this one day.
So this is actually, again, like much of the game, it's based on...
It's inspired by historical events.
It's historic events.
It's not a true story.
Sure.
It's our own story, but it's grounded in the reality of what happened in World War I.
That, before we play this, I want to talk about that. That had to be an incredibly rich canvas for you as a single-player designer to look at and think about. There's such incredible stories to pull from. Some of them are really tragic.
There's I think we might break a few hearts with the stories we have here, because one of the things that really works, I think, in Battlefield 1, because we've taken this grounded approach with our characters, and they're all unique and kind of live in their own place, bad things can happen in those stories. There's not an expectation that every story against the Great War is going to have a happy ending.
Right.
And I think if we can make people connect with those characters, and I believe our stories are very emotive, that I'm really looking forward to what people have there as their reaction to it. I can't give any spoilers.
We don't want any spoilers, but why don't we go ahead? We'll play the video that you brought with us, Through Blood and Mud.
Through Mud and Blood.
All right, let's take a look at that right now.
Townsend. Come on, you miss all the fun.
All artillery! Fire!
I've been looking at your papers.
Don't worry about me, sir. I'm ready to do my bit for king and country.
Listen, son, you find forward and reverse when you're told you'll do all right for me. Grab those, would you? Come and meet Big Bess. Woman of your dreams. Found our new driver, boys.
Whoa, no, don't swear. She does not like it when you swear. Finch, you've done this before.
Done what before?
Mind your business and manners. Listen, don't worry. She'll look after you, yeah?
All right, boys. This is the big one. Our orders are to punch through the German line, destroying artillery positions as we go. Finch.
Yes, sir.
After that, we'll advance on the French town of Cambrai, where I have been assured there is wine, women, and song. So you should enjoy that.
Ah, McManus won't. Jesus. Are we in safe hands or what, boys?
All right, McManus. Remember, boys, do your jobs, take care of each other. Big Bess will take care of you.
May the Lord have mercy on our souls.
We'll get through this together, right, Edwards?
Right, sir.
Full ahead, driver!
And you're off. That's a cinematic intro of Through Blood and Mud. That's a world premiere we just saw.
That's the world premiere of this, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because each of you talked about the 5 different parts of the single player, the different narratives. They each have this intro, right?
Oh, they each have, a complete story to themselves, which is entirely self-contained. So this is our tank-driven episode.
Now, you told me when we were watching, because that's the first time I've seen it as well. The tank has a name, and he referenced it in there if you missed it.
That's right, that's Black Bess.
Okay.
We wanted to treat the tank as one of the members of the crew.
Sure.
If you picked up, the engineer there mentioned that you shouldn't swear in the tank.
Oh, I didn't.
She doesn't like it, because he was going to swear when he banged his head.
Right.
So there's kind of a mythology to the tank and what she likes and what she doesn't like, because these tanks were horribly unreliable.
Right.
So whilst they were incredibly powerful and resistant to almost all the weapons in the front line, more of them were lost to mechanical failures once they'd gone out there, and the crew had to abandon them than actually being knocked out.
Right.
So the constant enemy was keeping it running.
So really, the war wasn't outside. The war was inside, trying to keep that thing going.
Which is fantastic for both gameplay and also dramatic purposes as well, because it feels like a very battlefield thing, having to get out and fix your tank right in the middle of combat and then jump back in again before something.
Now we've got a lot more to show. We've got a lot more exclusives that we're going to share with you today. But I want to just remind folks that that's one of the 5 different narratives that we're going to find in this.
Right. So we got 5 war stories. I mentioned one before. I mentioned our aviator-driven episode, Friends in High Places.
Yep.
We also have Avanti Savoia. This is a war story that takes place in the Italian Alps, the territory between Austria and Italy, and it focuses on 2 brothers who work with the Italian Arditi. Now, today they would be called special forces. Back then they were called shock troops. And they focused on very unconventional high-risk tactics. So they literally trained, for example, to throw grenades at a bunch of enemies and charge them before the grenade went off and attack them in hand-to-hand combat as the grenade's exploding.
My God.
Extremely high-risk tactics. These guys are, by modern standards, you'd almost call them crazy.
Yeah.
But they're very extreme shock troops.
By World War II, I believe they call that kamikaze. It's crazy. Now, I want to talk to you about, you're showing the first gameplay from Battlefield 1 single player. What we're going to see in just a minute. What can we expect? Let's set expectations here.
Well, we have 2 other war stories. I'll mention. We also have The Runner, which
Of
takes
course.
place on the blood-soaked beaches of Gallipoli.
Okay.
Where you play an Australian Anzac with a young novice. You have as to mentor him. And we also have Nothing Is Written, which is an episode which takes place in the Middle East. You mentioned before we came out here that Lawrence of Arabia is your favorite movie.
It was one of my favorite movies, and that's what I got when I saw the reveal from you guys in May.
Right.
So you're telling me.
So that character that you play in there is an Arab rebel who's Lawrence of Arabia's iron fist. You're
Yep.
his most independent and most dedicated soldier. And you start off this episode just armed with a knife, and you have to work your way up to be able to take out an armored train on your own. So it's an incredible power curve, an incredible kind of real realization of what Battlefield is really good at, letting you scavenge the environment, take weapons, take vehicles, take equipment, and adapt to the situation you find yourself in.
What next up? We've got a little bit more. You brought some more video for us.
That's right.
So let's talk about that.
This is a big thing that we're showing here. This is how the game starts.
Okay.
This is functionally we called it our prologue, but the name of it is Storm of Steel. And what this is quite different to our war stories. This is not a war story. This is more of a tone piece where we have a kind of a love letter to World War I, and we show, we try to challenge people's preconceptions as to what they might think that a World War I game would be like. So we very quickly thrust you into some incredibly intense frontline action. And what will happen in here, which is unique, is you will fight, you will die, and you will be eulogized, and then you become another fighter on the front line with a different kit and a different role as the war continues to churn in this frontline experience. So we think we have something very emotive and very kind of unique in there. It's not like the other war stories where we play one of these characters and we really focus on their story. This is the story of the front line rather than the story of a person.
Sure. I want to talk, before we show this, I want to talk about your reveal that you did in May, earlier this year, where you showed off Battlefield 1. Were you surprised by the reception, with the World War I backdrop?
I think we were overjoyed by it.
Yeah.
It's been great to see how much people have really taken to it and been very excited by it. I think it's an unexpected approach, and we've worked very hard to realize that world and bring it to people, and it's been fantastic having the response to it.
No, before we show this, I want to tell you this one quick story. Is my sister is a high school librarian back east, and she texted me. She said, beginning of the school year, everyone was coming into her library asking for World War I books.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Specifically because they were interested in Battlefield 1. So it's interesting to see how you're feeding back into the interest in history. Obviously, gameplay, we all love great games, but real history, you're making a massive impact there.
Well, it's been a very inspiring project to be a part of because we've learned so much as we've dug into that world and explored it, and I think that has driven us to be able to create experiences that you wouldn't really get anywhere else.
Now, we talked about Storm of Steel. We've got some gameplay here. So why don't we cue things up? Now, this is interesting because this is the last one we saw was about 3 or 4 minutes. This is extended, right?
Yeah, this is how the game will open. This is our tone piece that challenges how you think World War I is.
Okay.
So, we're going to have a very quick intro because we wanted to get the controller in people's hands very fast.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be playing this experience. You'll go through it. Like I said, you'll have that live, fight, die, eulogized, begin again experience. And then we'll end with a piece where we expand up to show you a tease of all the war stories and bring you into the world of Battlefield 1.
So this is going to be huge. This is a world premiere. This is the very first time this is being shown anywhere. And we're also going to do something a little different because this game is serious. This is a serious part of the game. We're setting the tone. We're not going to talk over this. We're going to turn our microphones off. We're going to just let everybody here in the audience as well as at home, wherever you are, just absorb the power of World War I. So here is the Storm of Steel gameplay, world premiere, Battlefield 1 single player. Take a look.
Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper.
Somebody!
Stay nighty night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me. While I'm alone and blue as can be. Little dream.
So many of us thinking this war would be our rite of passage, our great adventure. Let me tell you, it was no adventure. New killing machines, like the tank, changed the shape of the war overnight. Luckily, they were mostly on our side. Mostly.
Our boys in the church are overrun. We need to push through. KVI are counting on us. Sweep the ground! Keep going, driver! That's our fly boys up there! Keep your eyes on the ground, son! They're moving in from the trenches! Use that machine gun! Mow them down! We've got them on the run! Push on! Forward! For king and country! We'll chase Fritz all the way back to Berlin! You take it. Hold on! We're pushing through! Field gun, take a shot! Shoot that field gun, damn it! Good job! Let's open a path for our lads! Move up with the rest of the armor! Stay focused, men! Push on, damn it! We're almost through! Fire at anything that moves! We're gonna make it! Shit! Incoming!
Instead of adventure, we found fear. And in war, the only true equalizer is death. They push. We push. Every once in a while, we push hard enough that the light breaks through the clouds. And a world beyond the war glimmers, just out of reach. The war is the world, and the world is the war. But behind every gun sight is a human being. We are those people. We are the jaded, and we are the naive. We are the honorable and the criminal. We are the bound for legend and the lost to history. We are the knights of the sky, the ghosts in the desert, and the rats in the mud. These are our stories.
Woo! That was intense. So that was the very first time that I've seen that, and everybody else said, "Look, they want to go ahead, give it up. You can give it up." Crowd here loves it. So that was the beginning of the single-player Battlefield 1 experience, world exclusive, unbelievable. Eric, tell us about some of the things we saw there.
Well, I think the heart of it is seeing humanity.
Yeah.
You know, it's more than just conflict. There's humanity in this story, and there's humanity across the whole game. We have characters that I hope people will connect with, as well as having amazing action sequences. And I think that's the strength of our anthology format and our 5 war stories.
Also, what I got there is an incredible variety of not only characters, you've talked about that with the anthology format, but also the weapons. That really was incredible.
Weapons, vehicles, gadgets, the horse. There's a lot of variety, not just across these war stories, but also within them. Variety of mechanics, setups, encounter types. I think they're highly replayable because thanks to the Battlefield mechanic set, people can play them different ways. They can engage with them head on. They can play with them in a really kind of sneaky special forces way if they want to.
Yeah.
It's something that really lets people play the game in a very Battlefield way.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Battlefield, I wanted to bring this up here. This is the Battlefield 1. This is the deluxe edition. I'm sure you guys, this is a beautiful looking console, isn't it? Yeah. So it looks great. This is also important to note is that if you get this one, this has the 1-month EA access. And I want to remind folks, if you get EA access, you actually can play Storm of Steel and Through Mud and Blood as part of the EA access trial. So you can
That's right, you get access to them early.
You get access to them early, as well as 5 maps and 4 modes for multiplayer. So that will get you EA access. Of course, if you already have a console, you can just sign up for EA access and get that as well. It's really quite an amazing thing you guys have done with this single player experience, and the team should be proud. You guys must be really excited to finally be able to talk about it. I mean, your multiplayer brothers have gotten all the love over the past few months, and now you get to step on stage and show it off.
Well, we're just really proud of the whole game overall. I think it's a fantastic package, and I've been overjoyed with the reaction we got from our trailer that we went for single player just within the last week.
Yeah.
It was something we kind of sneaked in a little bit late, but people seem to really love what that trailer represents, and it really is what the game is. Everything into that is in-game.
All right.
I love that about DICE.
Right.
All of our trailers are in-game stuff. It's beautiful.
You see it and you're going to play it. So, Eric Holmes, you're the single-player designer for Battlefield 1, of which we just saw some amazing world premieres. Just a reminder, if you have EA access, you're going to be able to play this on October 13th, along with all those segments that we just spoke of. Of course, it'll be coming out worldwide October 21st. So,
that's right.
Eric Holmes, thanks so much. Hopefully you enjoy this. My name's Larry Herb, Xbox Live's Major Nelson. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.